Greetings to people who are starting to join, and greetings to those who are still arriving. We have a couple of minutes before we get started. As always, just take a few moments as you sign in to gather yourself from the busyness of the day, to get a sense of presence wherever you're sitting, standing, laying. Get connected with how your body, from top of your head to the bottom of your feet, feel a deep, abiding sense of presence. Not going anywhere, not doing anything, just taking this time to take this time. Pay attention to whatever it is that might be supporting you, whether it's the chair, the cushion, floor, whatever it might be, and notice how it feels to be supported, so that your muscles can finally just relax from all the doing, all the busyness, all the activity and tension, and just finally take a moment to take the time to let your entire body just exhale. Notice how gravity, that we take so for granted, is holding you right where you are, gently and completely inviting your muscles to just relax. Let those shoulders drop. Let the neck muscles begin to relax. Let the jaw muscles begin to relax. And just settle in. Because any practice of meditation or contemplation or anything like that always begins with starting here, starting right here, inside that physical being that you have been given. So I will take this time now to ring the bowl a few times and just allow the sound of the bowl to invite you to a more relaxed, open, held position. The tone inviting you, a deeper, more relaxed, receptive place. Want to say hi to Joan and Renee. Renee, my friend from Mexico. Joan, a little closer, but hello to all of you who are arriving and checking in with Zen Times 12. I've chosen to really explore this idea of attachment and just what that means. Everybody says, oh, don't get attached to this, don't get attached to that. Well, it's kind of taken on kind of a pop spirituality or psychology kind of meaning. But the notion of attachment goes much deeper than just don't do something. And so I want to say hi to Steph and Karen as they join us. So it goes much deeper than just, oh, don't be attached. As we talked about in several Zen times ago about the ego, the topic being the ego is lonely. And attachment is really an important part of understanding that and how it operates in our lives and what it can do in terms of disrupting our movement to deepen and enrichen our personal and spiritual growth. It isn't just a matter of, oh, don't be attached to your football team or your new car or whatever it might be. Although those are some common kinds of attachments. But when we're looking at it from a spiritual direction, it goes much deeper than that. And as I've always stated in our work together in Zen Times, is it goes beyond just the surface of the words. We really have to allow the words to point the direction to a much deeper and more important um, place of allowing us to move our spiritual direction in a more meaningful direction. So let me talk a little bit about what this whole idea of attachment is, um, how to work with it, um, and then we will end up with a meditation to help soften the effects of those attachments. There's two real realms of attachments. I'm sure there's many more, but I'm going to just highlight two of them. One is external attachments to things outside of our inner our inner experience, our inner being. External things like how our hair looks, or what the scale says we're weighing at, or parking our car far away when it's a new car from any other car. Attachments to whether our football team's doing well, or any number of those kinds of things. And the second realm is the attachment of our inner life. While attachments to our external life are challenging, they're a little more easy to address. Attachments to our inner life, a little more tricky. Our ego, as we talked about in The Ego is Lonely several Zen times ago, is very slick at weaving its way into getting us to believe internally what is important, what defines us in a deep and meaningful way. And unfortunately, it's so convincing that we end up believing it. That if more people liked us, we would be worthwhile inside. If I meditated more often, I would achieve enlightenment more quickly. Good luck. If I followed the right teacher, then their teachings would remedy my suffering and what have you. So we look at kind of how do we define our inner work based on some of these attachments. On a deeper level, some of those inner attachments that the ego really loves to latch its claws onto are our opinions, our beliefs, our ideas, our theologies, messages about our race and gender, whatever it might be. Our ego really likes to say, but that's what you really are. And so we really diverge from taking the time to move to a deeper level and saying, really? Am I really about what I've been taught to think and feel? Am I really about how I um, view things, want things? We talked a little while ago in a previous Zen Times about the idea of insistence and resistance. We insist that things be the way we'd like them to be. And when they're not, we resist. Well, we just went through a wonderful time of insistence and resistance. I'm not going to go a lot into it, but the whole social, environmental, political, justice kind of upheaval that has gripped this country, and getting people to pay attention on a more meaningful level, um, have really engaged a lot of people into solidifying their attachments to their beliefs, their ideas, their theologies, their politics, whatever it might be. And so when an attachment doesn't work out, when what we think should be right doesn't work out, we have a significant emotional upheaval inside ourselves, and we become despondent or despaired. We become aggressive and angry. We become judgmental and lash out. Unfortunately, the Super Bowl, I hate to bring this up, but it's that day is one of the most prolific days where people physically lash out at one another. If their team doesn't win, or if they don't win by enough, or if they lose money betting, or whatever it might be. That's the real tragic part of not taking time to examine how important is it that my thoughts, my beliefs, my ideas that I am so attached to really come to fruition. How important is that in my spiritual journey, in my personal growth journey, in how I am in my daily life, how I am with other people? Um, and we have talked in many times in previous Zen Times sessions about the importance of recognizing that our journey is more about how we are amidst all that is going on around us, not how all that is going on around us defines who we are. That's not the way it goes. It goes from the inside out. And we have to be able to understand that sometimes our real hidden kind of um, attachments and expectations and what have you um, lay the groundwork for some very powerful negative reactions: hostile, defensive, judgmental, and in the worst case is violence. And so our work really becomes with if I am going to be able to manage my external attachments, I have to figure out how I manage my own internally. So we have a real challenge ahead of us. And one of the things I want to talk about a little bit here is this whole idea of there's a wonderful book that is written by a Buddhist nun that uh, says being nobody and going nowhere. And that really talks about this expectation that we as human beings have to measure up to some sort of standard, either internal, that we've been taught to think and feel about what's right, or external, about what society says, or what have you. It doesn't mean about being nobody or going nowhere. It just means be careful about who you're becoming and where you're going. The Western mind has been trained for ever since Aristotle, I think, that where we end up defines who we are. That our destination, our achievement, our goals are what's really important. Hi, Lucy. Good to see you. So, and so we have this linear idea that if I am here, I've got to get there, and that there then has some sort of meaning about who we are. So we become very attached to that. We become very protective of that. That if that there isn't met, then somehow that defines us as less than or defective or not good enough. And we talked about the not good enough many sessions ago. Um, so the attachment is how rigidly that little part of our ego wants to hold on and say, no, this is what will really define you. This will really be what you can show the world your worth. And oftentimes what happens then is we engage in a whole mythology about that achievement because we're attached to that. We really believe that if we get there, then we can really say we're really something in a bag of chips. And so we really have to step back and excuse me and really consider that. And what are these attachments? And just as I've said in other sessions, this isn't about, as I've said before, this isn't about not having an ego or not having thoughts or what have you. In the same way, this isn't about not having attachments. Um, it's a matter of watching how they influence the way we are being as human beings, not so much how they are defining what we're doing. It was a great movie. Robert Redford was in it. He was got kind of brought into this idea of running for president and what have you, and they went through all of this chaos of you know, you know running for the president and all this kind of stuff, and then in the hotel room after at the end of the movie and he had achieved his goal, he looked at his wife and he said, "Now what? Now what?" That achieving that goal isn't everything that it's meant up to be. Is moving towards a goal. Achieving it or not is irrelevant. Are we moving in a direction that is honest and true to our soul and our spirit? And then we can watch how our attachments, move in and say, oh yeah, but, if you don't go to the right school, or if you don't get a good enough grades, or if you don't make the football team, or if you don't make show choir, or whatever it might be, that will be what defines you. And so we lose track of that inner knowing about, no, those things don't define who I am. And one of the things as a therapist I always ask people to do is really examine some of those inner messages, those attachments about what I have come to believe to be true about myself, and ask yourself, are they really? Are they really true? And if they're not, then what is? Very powerful way of looking at some of those attachments and what those mean. So looking at those attachments and how they can derail us in terms of our spiritual journey and growth and depth uh, really requires the work. And as I've always said, it's always been if if you want it to make a difference, you got to do the work. And before we get into the meditation tonight, I want to talk a little bit about this idea of destination addiction. That the Western mind is very linear. The Eastern mind is more circular. That's why when you see those ensos, those circular things in yoga studios and on, the yoga journal and what have you, the Western mind is very linear. I am here and I've got to get there. And that there will be a defining moment. But what we're talking about here is really looking at where am I now and how am I going to evolve? How am I going to move through this life in a way that allows me to be amidst what is occurring in a deeper and more meaningful way? Okay, enough of my yammering here. Let's finish up with a meditation that I hope will be able to soften some of these attachments. And again, as I said before, it's not about getting rid of anything because that sets up a violence inside of, oh, this is that and that's this and I got to get rid of it. It's about recognizing and saying, I see how this is working to derail me. It's not a matter of getting rid of it. It's a matter of not necessarily following it. So get yourself comfortable. And as we have in the past, a couple of nice inhales, blow out through the mouth. We just follow that out breath all the way down to its completion and rest there for a moment. Inhale gently and exhale. Just releasing all the way down and rest. Don't force it. And then when it's time to inhale, do so gently. And then release. That's right. And now just gently breathe in that normal rhythm of inhaling and exhaling, and just sit and watch how your body breathes in its normal rhythm. A lot of times we try to force breathing techniques in our body. Our body knows how to breathe. We just have to get out of the way and let it return back to its normal rhythm. Arriving with the in-breath, releasing with the out-breath. Arriving with the in-breath, releasing with the out-breath. Just like the arrival of the tone and the departure of the tone. Becoming more gentle with our sense of being. Recognizing that there's all sorts of stuff that will pull us in different directions. And just coming back to the out breath. Coming back to rest at the end of the out breath. Being more gentle with our being. As you continue to breathe, return to your sense of presence. Remind yourself you are a being, ing, in constant change and motion and being fluid like water. And hold our unique kinds of ways of distracting ourselves, our attachments, the things our egos want to convince us are what defines us. Just recognize. And one of the most powerful things we could do in our meditation is simply to smile. Oh, look at that. Oh, look where I've just gone. And gently, patiently come back. And as you do this, on your out breath, just simply say, not that, just this. And there'll be resistance, as there always is, and smile. We take this too seriously sometimes. And as we drift off, or get distracted, or impatient, or annoyed, come back to the out breath and say, not that, just this. And stay with that process for a few moments. And it's a gentle process. It's not a forcing. It's not a judgmental of, oh, I should be doing better, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Just notice. Just notice and smile. And come back. Not that. Wherever it is you went. Just this. And rest in that pause. Just this. Patiently returning, reminding. This is where I am. This is where I can breathe and have some breathing room. This is where I return and remember. My attachments will always be there, internal, external. My job is, where am I? Am I in attachment land? Or do I remind myself, not that, just this. and slowly let yourself reconnect with your conscious awareness of your surroundings, knowing that you can continue to remember, to return, and to remind yourself. Not that, whether it's out there or in here, all the chaos and distractions, just this. A nice deep breath, and know that you have cultivated an anchor that can keep you reminded, returned, and remembered as you move through your life with greater grace and patience and compassion. Well, I want to say thank you for all of you who showed up. I would like to say that the last hour of Zen Times, last Tuesday, was probably not the best day for me to do that, simply because I think the internet was really pretty overloaded with the elections, and so it was real spotty kind of connections and audio and what have you. So I will be doing that again. And for those of you who joined for that one, I have your email addresses. If there's anybody else who would like to join, it'll be a Zoom. And so if you would like to participate and maybe have some ideas about what you'd like to focus on, just let me know. Email me, text me through the Zen Times site. And also, please, if you'd be willing to give me your email address, because I have to send you the link. I'd love to have you join. See, today is Tuesday. What I'd like to do is to do this on Thursday. And if you give me your email address, I will confirm the time and the date and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for showing up. Notice your attachments, smile, and don't take yourself so seriously. Be well, be safe, and be at peace as much as possible. Good night.